Sounds great. Good. And do you know if Councilmember Chua was joining us or not?
Actually, she will not be joining tonight.
Okay.
I got a text from her late this afternoon. I think she had gotten some direction from the city attorney's office that because there would be a potential that the council might be voting on this, she could not participate in the conversation. Okay. She could observe, but not take part. And so I think she decided to just let you guys have it.
Well, thanks for the update. That gives us a good explanation. Okay, well, let me go ahead and get started then. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order this special meeting of the Milpitas Energy and Environmental Sustainability Commission. Today is Wednesday, September 1st, and I'm glad to be seeing everyone virtually. Let's go ahead and say the Pledge of Allegiance, if you'll join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, let's go ahead and have a roll call of the attendees.
Okay, please respond when I call your name. Commissioner Badesha?
Yes.
Thank you. Vice Chair Kong?
Here.
Great. Commissioner Lingle, any chance he joined during the Pledge of Allegiance? I don't see him yet. Sorry. Commissioner Martinez was not able to make it. Commissioner Salian, I think, also had a conflict. Chair Sexton?
Here.
Commissioner Shreve is not able to make it. Alternate Commissioner Hogg. Commissioner Hogg? Oh, you're on mute.
Here.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Okay, thank you very much, Elaine. So we have 4 commissioners attending, and that constitutes a quorum, so we can move ahead.
Oh, you do officially have to seat alternate Commissioner Hogg.
That's right. Seeing that alternate Commissioner Hogg was good enough to join us today, you can be seated with full voting rights if we when we're voting.
Yay.
Thank you.
Okay, let's have the approval of today's agenda, September 1st. Everyone received that, and let's go ahead and have a roll call vote on using today's agenda.
Actually, I need a motion and a second.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, my mind just went. Okay. Can someone please make a motion to approve today's agenda?
I will make the motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you very much, Chair, Vice Chair. Could I hear a second to that motion, please?
I do the second.
Thanks very much, Commissioner Badesha. All right, and now we can vote.
Great. Can I have your vote, please, Commissioner Badesha? Approve or yes, thank you. Vice Chair Kong?
Aye.
Chair Sexton?
Aye.
Commissioner Hogg?
Aye.
Great, thank you. That passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. And now we can move on to the approval of our the minutes for last meeting, which was August 24th. And if I can go ahead and make a comment that I would like to request a very small update to that the meeting minutes that I've already mentioned to Linda, and that is just to change the referral of Commissioner Lingle from alternate Commissioner Lingle to Commissioner Lingle, since he is actually a full commissioner. And so if we can vote on the approval of the meeting minutes with that small amendment, that would be great. So do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of the August 24th meeting?
I move to approve the minutes.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair. Do I hear a second to that motion, please?
I'll do the second.
Is that Commissioner Badesha? Okay,
Yes.
Commissioner Badesha seconded the motion. So let's have a roll call vote on that motion.
Okay, great. Commissioner Bejeshi, your vote, please.
I approve.
Thank you. Vice Chair Kong,
Aye.
Chair Sexton,
Aye.
and Commissioner Hogg.
Aye.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Minutes are
Motion carries.
approved as amended.
Thank you very
corrected.
much. All right, let's move on to a public forum. Are there any participants at this time that would like to address the commission?
Chair Sexton, I do not see any attendees.
Okay, thank you very much, Linda. Then we can move on to announcements. Do we have any new announcements to share with the commission? Oh, I think we don't have any new announcements. So let's move on to the real purpose of this meeting, and that is the legislative review for possible positions. Thank you very much, Elaine, for sending out the updated list of bills that we are going to discuss. One small question, I noticed that, and I assume that Walter provided the additional information that's on the new list.
No, I did that based on the Cal legislation website as of the morning of August 30th, so Monday morning.
Okay, thanks. That was very helpful to have there. And I noticed that there was one item. So these are 8 items on this list. And I noticed that one item, one bill was dropped, and I just wanted to know whether, was it that it had passed and, or something that it had happened that it wasn't of interest to us anymore. And that's the SB1, the Coastal Resources and Sea Level Rise Bill.
Oh, you know what? That was my mistake. I think I was editing this and that got edited off by mistake. It is still active. So I apologize for that one. If you want to consider that one, I think you still can. I apologize for that oversight.
Okay. Well, let's see if, we even have time for that today. But okay, that I might be missing something here, but anyway. And also the Mr. Mehta's request that we discuss SB 350. Now, I'm confused because when I looked up SB 350, it did not pertain to the topic that he described. And I even looked up SB 350, and that still wasn't the topic that he described. So right now I know nothing about what he was requesting, so I apologize for that.
Yeah, I believe, hold on for 1 second. The bill he was referring to was from the 2019-2020 cycle. And that one has already, so it's no longer being considered. It was actually adopted and approved by the governor July 1st, 2020.
Okay.
So there's no need to
Yeah,
act
no need to
further on
discuss
that one.
because that has cleared the
Mhm.
legislature. Okay, well, thank you so much. That's very helpful. Okay, so why don't we, Elaine, since you've ordered this in for the potential priority by high first. Let's just go on and do the items as it's listed. And, you know, hopefully we'll get to all of them, but and by the way, any commissioner, if you would like to bump up the discussion on any of these bills, please let me know and we can.
Yeah, let me quickly just explain kind of what I did. So I did check on the status of all the bills as of Monday morning. I believe most of them now are actually on to a third reading within their houses. I did screen them for alignment with the guiding principles, and then the potential priority was just very loose, where I looked at applicability to Milpitas residents and community and overall impact. So for example, something like the leaf blower action was something that would affect directly our community members. Is actually something I think that was discussed at the commission previously. So that's, you know, really loosely why I got a high priority for your consideration, your discussion.
Okay.
Again, feel free to change any of that. It was just to kind of help guide your conversations a little bit.
Okay, well, thank you. And yes, that's a very good reason to put a high priority, because this is a topic that the commission has discussed in the past. And certainly if there's a bill in Sacramento on that topic, I think the commission would be very interested in.
Let me also note, I think Deputy City Manager Walter Rossman will be joining us, but he said he'll be joining us around 5:30 today.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. Yes, that's very helpful, because some of these bills he could probably add to the conversation. Okay, so AB 1345.
Yes, Exon.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if we can adjust the list a little bit, because in the last meeting, I also suggested that we drop discussion for 3 bills that have unanimous support.
That's right.
And it might not be worth of our time
Yes.
to dwell too much on it. And that is AB 881.
881, okay.
And then AB 962.
AB 962, the one right after that. Yes.
And
And I
AB
think the one on the top of the second page.
Yeah,
AB
1201.
1201.
Correct. So
Okay,
those,
great.
they have no objection at all in any of the committees as well as the assembly or state floor. So I think
Okay.
those are, we can assume that there will be very little chance of failure.
Okay, that's great. Yes, there's when I read through all of those, I actually had some questions, but that's not in terms of not supporting. It was sometimes the way these bills are written, the language is so convoluted. I'm sometimes going, gee, why is it written that way? Or, why it sounds like it's being specific to one particular thing, but maybe I'm just not reading it correctly. Anyway, but yes, we'll go ahead and skip those. And so therefore we should be able to get to the entire list. All right, any other comments before we get started? Okay, great. All right, so AB 1346, the cleaning up leaf blowers and lawnmowers. So these are more generally referred to as small off-road engines. And when I read through this, my understanding is this is by July 1st of next year to adopt a cost-effective and technically feasible set of regulations to prohibit exhaust and evaporative emissions from new small off-road engines, and establishes a funding for a rebate program to support the transition. So there's actually I didn't see that there was a particular date to start the transition, but there's a date to have regulations to deal with that. Do we have any questions or comments from the commission as to whether you feel that the commission should support this bill, or give feedback to city staff to support or not support this bill?
I have a question. Maybe you guys discussed this, or this is the first time coming here, but can someone give us a little bit of brief, like what is this about? Why are we doing this, and how is it going to be implementing or affecting?
Sure, Commissioner Badesha. I'm open. I can give my summary, or Vice Chair, if you'd like to, or if Elaine, if you would like to do it. It's I'm open. Any volunteers? Okay, then I'll.
Sure,
I'll go
I mean,
ahead.
I can jump in. Commissioner Badesha, are you asking about this whole conversation and why the commission's reviewing pending legislation, or is your question specific to AB 1346?
Both.
Okay, sure. So this is actually a new exercise for the commission. It was identified as something the commission wanted to do on its work plan for this year. So it was added to the work plan, and which was approved by council. And so there was an initial conversation by the commission in, I believe, June, about potential legislation review process. The city had recently adopted legislative guiding principles that would guide how the city comments on pending legislation. And so we reviewed that. And then the commission did want to conduct a review this year. So it was on the agenda for August. Actually, last week's meeting, we didn't quite have enough time. And so that's why the group's meeting today to go through this list. Chair Sexton provided the initial list of legislation to consider. So that's kind of why this is before the commission. The commission is able to make a recommendation, and if the legislation is aligned with our guiding principles, you guys can make a recommendation for staff to do further review and consider submitting a letter of support from the city.
Okay.
Specific to 1346, this one does relate to reducing emissions from small off-road engines and requiring the California Air Resources Board to develop regulations for them. To correct what Chair Sexton had said, it actually applies to engines that are produced in 2024. So regulations next year, and then it would take effect on engine dates manufactured as of 2024.
Great, thank you very much for that correction, Elaine. I obviously missed reading that in the description.
And then Vice Chair Kong has her hand up.
Yes,
Okay. Yes, Commissioner Kong.
I read through the proposed bill, and I actually support it. If we can request for an amendment to expand the incentive or the rebate beyond just the commercial users and include residential users. Because I think here in Milpitas, if you really want to achieve emission reduction, it will be good if state expand the rebate program to include residential. Because right now, the way that it's written, it only says that make funding available for commercial rebates or in other incentive funding. So I think if we can request for the addition of both commercial and residential, that will really perhaps help a lot of people to do the transition of their existing equipments.
Thank you, Vice Chair, for picking up on that particular detail. I didn't realize that it was only, the rebate program was only being targeted to commercial entities. So, but yes, lots of residential folks do have gas leaf blowers and lawnmowers.
So when they put this bill together or propose it, they did not consider that, or why was that left off?
I think, not 100% sure, but I think that the majority of gas leaf blowers and gas lawnmowers belong to commercial organizations, like, garden maintenance companies, landscapers. I would have thought that it was sort of obvious that homeowners and renters also buy that type of equipment and use them. So I have no idea why what the thinking was to have the rebate program specific to only commercial entities. Elaine,
And-
any thoughts on that?
No, I don't know.
And also, was any study done, like what is gonna be outcome of this, if we implement this?
Outcome as in
And,
reduction of GHGs?
correct.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Badesha, could you, we can't hear you.
How about now? Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah. Yeah, any study done that, how much is it gonna help?
I think that there's, some quantifiable amount of GHG emissions associated with these small off-road engines. And I know that there have been other cities, years ago that have implemented a ban on such equipment. And they've been working on that. So there is an understanding of the complexity and the difficulty it is to make the transition. And I believe that's why the rebate program was put together.
Or city having any kind of hesitation or anything around this?
Just to clarify, Commissioner Badesha, this is state legislation, not Milpitas action. So this is all being considered at the statewide level.
Okay,
Yes, this would apply to all of California.
got it. But it's, if it will apply to all of California, do city has authority to either adopt or not, or it's a kind of,
No, we won't be able to opt out of it. It will apply to the city of Milpitas.
okay.
And that's why the commission discussed this, I think, at least probably 2 years ago, as something that would help to reduce GHG emissions. And also, I think it came up in the context of the amount of noise pollution that it contributes to our city. Any other questions or comments on this particular bill? And Elaine, do you think that it would be appropriate to try to summarize our discussion by taking a vote of sort of support or non-support again regarding this bill to
Yes, I think ultimately the commission would want to take a vote on which bills you would recommend for staff review and a potential letter of support.
okay.
You can do that, one by one, or you could talk about all of them and then do a vote on which bills you want to advance. It's up to you.
All righty. My preference would be to take a vote as we go along, because sometimes, in 30 minutes time, it might be difficult to remember our conversation on the very first bill, or, all the ones previous. So if there is no objection to taking a vote on each bill as at the end of each discussion, I think we'll do that. So let me please say now if you would prefer to take a vote on all of the items at the end, and I'll make that change.
Chair Sexton, Commissioner Hogg has his hand raised.
Oh, thank you. I didn't see that. Hi, Commissioner Hogg, please. What's your question?
Does anybody know if there's any kind of increased cost limitations in this bill? In other words, is this going to double or triple the price of these products that people use? Does anybody have any idea about whether there's some sort of limit to that type of thing? Because, I'm not rich. I might need a leaf blower.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying?
So I've attended, not for the city of Milpitas, but in other cities, I've heard discussion on these discussions were not specific to wasn't being held at the city level, but it was being discussed. I've sat in on meetings where the city of Palo Alto and the city of Los Altos, they have ordinances and have had those ordinances for several years, and heard comments on the difficulty for the landscapers and gardeners to make the transition. And it is a very complex situation. The equipment themselves, the higher price ones that are needed to replace a gas leaf blower are a bit more expensive, and that's why there's a rebate program to help with that. And there's other issues such as, the charge time and, getting all the batteries, because you'll probably go through multiple battery packs per day, and things like that. So I know that the experience of making that transition has been, is sort of understood, because they've been other cities that have gone through that transition. And the outreach to both the residents as well as to the individuals or companies that work in that industry has been done. And I just like any change, it's never without its bit of pain points, but I think in 10 or 20 years time, we'll be looking back, as we've done with many other regulations, and say, gee, we should have done that earlier.
Commissioner Hogg, is that a new hand raise?
That's a new hand raise.
Oh, okay. Let me call it again on you, Commissioner Hogg.
So by your description of what you're saying here, as far as rebates go, the taxpayer is going to be footing the bill for this? Is that my understanding? Am I understanding that correctly?
I have not, I don't know where the funding is coming from.
Who's going to pay for these rebates?
But Vice Chair Kong, does the bill say where the funding for the rebate program is coming from?
I'm trying to read through the appropriations summary, and I think I'm trying to see right now how much they anticipate.
Well, the staff has any information?
It says that the cost pressure is unknown, but likely significant amount from the general fund or special fund to provide the rebates and incentive funding to transition. So it does say that it doesn't know how much, but it will be significant amount.
And I believe that's the state general fund. And so I think part of the Air Board's charge will be to figure out what technology is available and then what level of rebate could be applied or provided, excuse me.
Yes, and the other side of looking at the funding for this and the cost is how much more cost or expense is it going to cost us if we don't do it? So those, you know, like I said, it's never straightforward or easy, but and that's why we're discussing it. And you know, I appreciate the fact that this is probably a new topic for you and a new topic for Commissioner Badesha also. So if you know, that's why we are having this discussion, to be able to sort of bring these details to light, so that you know, we do all understand both the reasons for doing this and the reasons why it's, you know, it's not straightforward.
Chair Sexton, I see Commissioner Hogg has his hand raised.
Oh, Commissioner Hogg, yes,
Yes.
go ahead. You don't have
On
to
that-
raise your hand on each item. You can.
Okay, on that topic again, every one of these bills that I read cost me more money out of my pocket. Every one of them. There's not one that doesn't.
Yeah.
Way or another, the average Joe is paying more because of these bills, or for whatever service it may be. Safer food packaging, cook. Well, that one's actually not too bad, but the reduced unnecessary food service where, you know, you're going to pay more. Returnable beverage bottles, you're going to pay more out of your pocket. I guarantee nothing is free in this world. Nothing.
Absolutely.
Somebody pays for it.
Right. So we all have to decide where we want to spend our money.
What money do we have? The state's broke. The state's out of money. We're taking money from the federal government because we mishandled, mismanaged the state budget so poorly for the last several decades that it'll never be able to be paid back. So now let's pile more on top of it. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But I'm a meat and potatoes, dollar and cents guy.
I respect your opinion, Commissioner Hogg. I think that you have a very valid point. And so do all the commissioners. And that's why it's great to have the exchange of opinions on this.
Thank you for accepting my opinion on that.
Yes, absolutely. You raised some very good points. And through our discussions, you know, you help us to understand. And I hope that, you know, the little bit of information and background that I have to share also might help other people with their understanding. I personally take a very long-term view of most of these topics, that especially on a legislative level is happening. I try to keep in mind both the people that will be affected now, but also the people that will be affected in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, in 50 years' time, in 100 years' time. And I try to balance all of that whenever I give my input. So, and I think as a commissioner trying to represent the opinions of the city of Milpitas, I think that the broadest possible perspective, and you know, these legislative bills and you know, governing is not easy, And this commission is picking up this type of discussion for the very first time. And there's no expectation that it will be an easy discussion. Commissioner, Vice Chair.
Just to clarifying.
Oh, sorry, Commissioner Badesha, I
Yeah.
noticed that Vice Chair Kong's hand is raised, so could I call on her first and then I'll call on you right after? Commissioner Kong?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that this bill only regulate new equipments, so new equipments that will be produced. It doesn't regulate existing equipment. So people who have, work equipments in working condition can continue to use what they have. So it's not forcing everyone to pay or spend more money, but it's more of to encourage manufacturers to shift to technologies that allow the products that does not generate emission. So I hope that might help to answer or at least clarify why this bill is even moving through a lot of this legislation and already approved through several steps, and it's now almost to the end of the process. It's going to the third reading, and I feel like here we are as commissioners, we should discuss and debate and provide our inputs to the state legislator, so that way when they vote on it, it is considering our inputs. So if we feel that it is going to hurt Milpitas badly and hurt the average Joe, we really need to bring it up. And that's the whole reason why I feel that if we want to submit a letter of support, we should include the rebate for residential users, not just commercial users. And if other commissioners have other suggestions, this is the best time to bring it forward, because if we don't even discuss this, it may get approved without us being part of the process, and we have to live with the decisions that Sacramento makes on our behalf.
Thank you, Commissioner Kong. Commissioner Badesha, your comment?
No, so you think that if we don't say, or, earlier you're saying that this is a state, right? So even though we don't like or whatever we have a comment, you think we have authority to stop or change, or what we
So
can do?
my understanding is that we, it's our representatives in Sacramento that will vote on this for us. And that's why the city of Milpitas has an opportunity to either write a letter of support or write a letter of non-support regarding any type of legislation. Yeah. So this particular bill we're discussing, if we feel strongly one way or the other, then we can refer this bill to the Milpitas city staff to review it and potentially write a letter of support if that looks like that's what the city council would like to do. Now, I have to say that what's happened in Sacramento looks like this bill will go through anyway. So that's why I think that it's very key that Vice Chair Kong has sort of pointed out an item that, I have no idea whether it would be, the bill would be revised, but at least the input, the city's input to this particular bill to expand the rebates to residential purchases.
And then the other thing is, like Commissioner Kong said, that it's not going to affect the existing blowers or whatever the equipment is. Mm-hmm. To newer. So how that's going to get implemented, or how they're going to make a difference here? If somebody says, oh, I have this, I'm good, and it's just affecting manufacturing.
As with most California-wide legislation, it does affect, just like, new homes being built or new buildings, new commercial buildings going up. There's lots of bills that would affect the new ones. I believe we could probably look in the past and see how, say, the emissions control for automobiles was implemented, that it basically bans the sale of equipment within the state of California that does not meet the description in the legislation. So Elaine, would that be your understanding that, say, after 2024, the businesses in California would not be able to sell a gas small off-road engine?
I believe it could, I believe only engines that meet CARB's emission standards, which will be defined as basically zero NOx, et cetera, will be allowed to be sold.
Okay, right. So that doesn't prevent someone from going somewhere else and purchasing one and bringing it in to California, but it certainly would not be able to be purchased in the state of California.
I guess so. I mean,
Okay.
every bill has a lot of loopholes, so.
Yes, and there are
So
always
what else?
exceptions written in to each bill, and sometimes it's those exceptions that are questionable. Yes. Okay. So any other comments on this? And I don't see any hands being raised at this point. Could I, to complete the conversation on this particular topic, do I hear a motion to vote on the Commission's support to refer this bill for staff review and potentially a letter to the state legislature?
I
Would
support,
anyone like, Vice Chair Kong?
I support the motion to take a vote.
Thank you very much. Do I hear a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hogg. Could we go ahead and take a poll on, this is AB 1346, the cleaning up of leaf blowers and lawnmowers, to be able to recommend to the Milpitas city staff to review this particular bill for a potential letter to the state. Elaine,
Yes.
could you make a?
Yeah,
do
so
a
the
roll
motion
call
is to yes, and the motion is to potentially submit a letter of support with the revision to include residential rebates, correct?
vote? Yes, that's correct.
Okay,
Residential
great.
rebates.
Okay, Commissioner Badesha, your vote, please.
Aye.
Commissioner Vice Chair Kong,
Aye.
Chair Sexton,
Aye.
and Commissioner Hogg.
No.
All right, thank you. That does pass 3-1.
Okay, so motion carries, and
I have one question before. We're voting to recommend that they support this bill, right?
that's correct.
Okay, I'm a no, definitely.
Okay, thank you for your vote.
Yes.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to SB 222, which is the Water Ratepayer Assistance Program. And anybody wants to give their recap, their understanding of this bill? The notes that I wrote here is this is to provide funding for assistance and affordability for drinking water and wastewater service for low income and those experiencing economic hardship. And this calls for the program to be ready by January 1st of 2023, which is a little bit more than a year away. So I'd like to open the floor for any comments on this bill.
Chair Sexton, Vice Chair Kong has her hand raised.
Thank you very much. Vice Chair Kong, your comment, please.
Yeah, so I have a few comments. When I read through the bill, I saw a discrepancy in the sense that they did say that 10% of the funding would be limited for administrative purposes, and then 80% directed to customer assistance. And I don't know where the other 10% goes. So it does look like I would be more comfortable if there was no discrepancy at all, meaning that if there was in the text, 90% of the funds are going to be directed to customer assistance and then 10% for administrative. Because seeing that they had this 10 and 80 and then another 10% that's unaccounted for, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with such a text. And then a second comment is that it says that it wants to eliminate all existing assistance programs that are offered by investor-owned utility companies. And I kind of feel that if we are currently already have programs in place that assist customers, eliminating them and moving everyone to this new government program seems like we're moving costs from privately owned private investors over to the government. So I'm also uncomfortable with that wording. So there's few things that concerns me. So I wanted to bring that to the attention of the commission.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Kong. Commissioner Hogg, you have a comment also?
I just want to say that I agree with her that what happened to the other 10%, and let's try and keep the government out of as much as we can. That's my thoughts on all of this stuff.
Okay, great, thank you. Elaine, when I read, I had the same question as to why eliminate the investor-owned utility assistance, but it occurs to me that there are probably some water utilities that are municipal, like I think the city of Milpitas would be considered a municipal water utility. And so it sounds like what this that part of the bill to coordinate with the Public Utilities Commission is to really bring a consistency to the water assistance or the affordability assistance, so that the IOU or investor-owned utilities, then some of them do exist. I think parts of San Jose has an IOU water utility, that the rebates that they offer there don't become sort of different or out of whack from what other residents will be able to, what kind of assistance program they might be able to qualify for. Do you know what the percentage of IOU versus municipal utilities are?
No, I don't. So just for a point of clarification, investor-owned utilities. So for example, San Jose Water is a privately owned water company. So is California Water Service. They provide service in the Cupertino area. I don't know the breakdown between public water system versus private. For example, the city of Milpitas is considered a public water system. It's run by us. We do offer a low income rate assistance program. I believe it's pretty modest. And I agree. I agree that I think this bill is trying to make the assistance more consistent across the board.
Okay, and so since Milpitas has a not an IOU water utility, but a government-owned water utility, then we would be
We are
probably-
not, so the language that I'm looking at right now says that this chapter does not prohibit a public water system or sewer system not regulated by the POC from offering assistance to ratepayers. So we would not be subject to this. It seems like it's only subject to the private water companies who are
yes.
regulated by the PUC.
Right, that's the ceasing of existing rate assistance, but the small assistance that the city of Milpitas offers probably would then be either modified or replaced by this new water ratepayer assistance program that is described by SB 222.
Potentially.
Okay.
Yeah, to be quite honest, I have not read this in detail to understand the implications in our system.
Okay.
Not yet. So I think if you guys want to take an action, then we'll have more staff time to further evaluate.
Okay. Do we have any, so the comments that I've heard so far is that we really don't understand both the breakdown of funding and how it's going to be applied to really vote one way or the other on this bill. But if there's any commissioner that feels like they do want to vote at this time, please let me know. But I don't really hear the type of conversation that leads to sort of, an understanding enough to recommend or not recommend this bill. Okay. By that, I'm assuming that we're not ready to really say one way or the other. That may need a bit more study. So if there are no other comments on SB 222, let's move on. We're going to be skipping over AB 881 and AB 962. And we can move on to AB 1276, which is the reduce unnecessary food serviceware. And does anyone need a summary of this particular bill?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, Commissioner Badesha. I'll give it my best shot, and please, others that have a better explanation, please follow up to the clarification. So this particular bill will basically stop the use of single-use food serviceware unless the customer asks for it. So a food service organization can't automatically, give you, those utensils and the individual condiment packages unless you ask for them. And, generally, when you, especially for takeout or drive-through, all this stuff just goes into the bag, whether you need it or not, you get it. And so this is to reduce all this unnecessary items, and this also includes that by June 1st of next year, 2022, the local enforcement of this legislation would be in place, and there would be some reimbursement by the state for managing the enforcement at the local level. The current or the fee for not adhering to this ordinance is $25 a day, or a maximum of $300 per year of fines to the food service organization. So are
Okay.
there any?
So this is a similar thing we did. This is a similar thing we did on straws, right? If you ask, then they will. Otherwise,
Right. So this
they
is
won't.
expanding it to other things, not just plastic straws. And this is it's not. It doesn't say plastic food serviceware. It just says unnecessary food serviceware. The description, and I thought was a little unusual, because it describes a single-use food serviceware, that it also includes I would imagine compostable PLA, so polylactic acid, looks like plastic items, utensils. And it would also cover bamboo and other wood items like, chopsticks and things like that, this legislation would say that you can't just automatically put those things in with the food items without the specific request by the customer.
Yeah, I know. So maybe it's not related to this, but there's gonna be a lot of disagreement, fighting over, when people is so used to it. When you go and buy Taco Bell, they automatically put stuff in it, or any restaurant you go to, they put this kind of stuff in it. And if someone not knowing about this, and they just go and buy it and come home and they don't have that, they're gonna be like calling restaurant and having a fuzz about it.
I agree. My expectation would be for the food service organization to say, would you like that with utensils? Would you like that with ketchup? Would you like that with whatever, for it to be added, so that the customer ends up with exactly what they want.
Yeah, I think it should be offered, and if they say, yeah, no, I don't need it, or I need it, then it goes, right?
Yes, I think if you another item that has been sort of this way for many years is when you sit down in a restaurant, the law still stands that you have to ask for a glass of water if you want to. Restaurants are not supposed to automatically put a glass of water on the table unless you ask for it.
Yeah. How's that straw stuff going on, or that's in the play already, or what's feedback, or how that going?
Yeah, I think that's been in place for at least 2 years, maybe 3 years. Elaine, do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, it went into effect January 1, 2019, and it's being enforced out of the county Office of Environmental Health, or the group that regulates and inspects restaurants. So I assume this bill would also fall under their purview and enforcement authority.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments? I know myself, I've been, just so frustrated, particularly during the pandemic when I've ordered food to be delivered. And every opportunity I've said, no utensils, no napkins, no straws, please, don't need any of this stuff because it's being delivered to my home. I have all of these things at home that I use. I definitely don't need them. And they always show up with this ton of stuff that I absolutely don't need. And, I actually didn't want to throw it in the trash either. So I just accumulated and I, ended up with, almost a grocery bag full of all of these items. And just very fortunately, a friend of mine works with an organization that they provide home cooked food to some homeless populations, and they could use it. So, I transferred them over to her and they were put to good use. But, it really would have bothered me a lot if I had put it into the landfill.
Commissioners, I just
Yeah, I
wanted
think, every restaurant, I think every restaurant trying to please their customers, right? And they think that they're giving them extra system, but once this rule implemented, then they have to make a discipline, right? They're gonna change it. So now it's just you're getting it because they think that if you don't, you're gonna be calling, where's my napkin, where are my spoons and all that. So it's a part of courtesy right now.
Right. So now, the restaurants that want to follow the right thing to do and not put unnecessary items into the delivery can now reasonably do that without getting negative comments because it'll be provided on request.
Yep.
Okay.
Chair Sexton, I just wanted to point out Commissioner Salian has joined, and so has Deputy City Manager Walter Rossman.
Okay, great. Hi, Walter. Thanks for joining us. And hi, Commissioner Salian. I'm glad that you're able to join us.
Good evening.
So
Good
just
evening.
to bring you up on where we are on the agenda, we're on our business item, and we are now discussing AB 1276, the reduce unnecessary food serviceware item, which is the on the attachment to the agenda. It's the first page, second to last one on the first page. Okay. Commissioner Salian, since you're just joining us and probably didn't have the opportunity to sort of listen to the entire discussion on this food serviceware bill, it's quite understandable if you abstain from the vote for this. So at this point, do I hear a motion to recommend AB 1276 to city staff for review and potential letter of support to the state legislation? Do I hear a motion for this?
Yeah, I can support the motion.
Thank you, Vice Chair Kong. I hear I have a motion. Do I hear a second to the motion?
I do the second.
Thank you, Commissioner Badesha, for the second. So at this point in time, could we have a roll call vote on the support of the AB 1276 to reduce unnecessary food serviceware?
Okay, Commissioner Badesha, your vote, please.
Yes.
Thank you. Vice Chair Kong?
Aye.
Commissioner Salian?
Aye.
Chair Sexton?
Aye.
And Commissioner Hogg?
Aye.
Great, motion
Passes
carries.
unanimously.
Thank you,
you.
everyone, for that really good discussion there. All right, we have 24 minutes left. So let's move on to AB 1200, Safer Food Packaging and Cookware Act. So again, does anybody here want to make a summary of what this bill covers? Or you want to hear my take on it and then add to it? Okay.
Yeah,
Commissioner
I'd like to hear your take.
Okay. So I read this over and I saw two pieces to it. One, and that is starting January 1st of 2023. So that's a year from this coming New Year's, to ban PFAS in food packaging derived from plant fibers. I'm going to ask if everyone understands PFAS, because if not, then I'll just, accept, the term PFAS and move on. Does anybody need to, the explanation of PFAS?
Yes, please.
Okay, so PFAS is describes a group of chemicals that has been in the past added to a variety of food packaging, as well as cookware, pots and pans. There's been studies done on it and a lot of demonstrated actual outcomes that shows that ingestion, or taking in of this chemical into our bodies produces bad health results, particularly for young children, I think under the age of 2 or 3 years old. So the PFAS ban that is in this applies to any food products being consumed by, I think it's either 2 or 3 year olds and under, which in actuality would apply to everyone, because all food potentially could reach 2 or 3 year old, these packaged foods. The other part of the bill is by January 1st of 2024, so 2 years out from this coming New Year's, is for all cookware to have an additional labeling that lists the added chemicals that to that piece of cookware, and that any claim of X chemical name free, not being in, say the label of that frying pan says, PFAS free or, something free, then the only way that they can add that particular marketing blurb is that anything in that chemical group, so it doesn't have to be just the particular chemical that is being named, but the entire group of chemicals must not be in that product to be able to substantiate that claim. And that would typically be the non-stick coatings that, or some non-stick coatings that are used on cookware. So if anyone has additional items to add as to the description of the bill, please go ahead and add that.
I will add that other states have done it in terms of a bill to ban the sale of cookware that has PFAS. Among the states that have banned it includes Connecticut, Vermont, Minnesota. So I think there is already precedence in in this country that other states are setting this direction.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Kong. Yes, I think that this is a known chemical that is very bad for our health. And there's been documentaries on this topic also that covers it. Any other comments, or are we ready to go for a commission vote? Okay, I hear no other comments. Oh, sorry, Commissioner Hogg, please go ahead.
If this chemical or group of chemicals is such a horrible thing, why hasn't the federal government stepped in and stopped it?
I have the same feeling. Yes, they should have, and but that obviously has not happened, and so therefore the next best thing that can be done is to have it done at the state level. Okay. Okay, at this time, do I hear a motion for AB 1200, the Safer Food Packaging and Cookware Act, to recommend this bill for staff review and a potential letter of support to Sacramento?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner Salian. I appreciate the motion. Do I hear a second to the motion?
I will second the motion.
Thank you, Vice Chair Kong. Elaine, could we have a roll call vote on this motion, please?
Yes, Commissioner Badesha,
Aye.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Badesha, I think you're still on mute. Can I have your vote, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Vice Chair Kong,
Aye.
Commissioner Salian,
Aye.
Chair Sexton,
Aye.
and Commissioner Hogg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much for your vote. And at this time, I'd like to move on to, let's see, we're going to skip AB 1201, and on the second page, go to SB 343, the Truth in Labeling for Recyclable Materials. Would anybody like to summarize this one? Okay, I'll go ahead with my summary. And I have to say that, my summary is not necessarily a very good one. I just try to sort of, these are my notes from when I try to understand what I'm reading. Okay, so I think the gist of this is to require that the advertising of whether a product or packaging is recyclable is correctly labeled. So the recycling symbol, I think we're all used to sort of a triangle with a number in the triangle that specifies the type of plastic that is. So that is not that's a symbol that says what group of plastics that falls into. It doesn't necessarily say that it's recyclable. The recycle symbol is the triangle with the 3 arrows that make up the triangle. And I believe that is referred to as the chasing arrows triangle, which means that that product is recyclable. And sometimes it will have a number in there, which, because if it's a plastic item, then it will then, that chasing arrows triangle will then specify what type of plastic it is. So this is to make sure that the labeling is done correctly. And I think the date on this is January 1st, 2024. by that date, the state's recycling and waste reduction, let's see, okay, that's a date to update regulations required for disposal operators to provide information on the material collection and how the material is processed, so that the recyclable, okay, so this would require a lot of information from the industry to go back to the State Department of Recycling, so that they can determine that something can only be called recyclable if indeed that particular type of product is actually being recycled in 60% of the state's population. Okay, in addition to some other criteria. Okay, but right now that recyclable, the chasing arrows symbol, can be used even if there is no process available to actually recycle that product. And so it sort of narrows the use of the chasing arrows symbol to only things that actually can be recycled in this, or is being recycled in the state of California. Not that it's hypothetically could be recycled, but we actually aren't recycling that type of product. So can anyone add some more explanation to that? Because I don't think I did a very good explanation of that bill.
I have nothing to add, because I think that Chair Sexton, you actually did a very good job in summarizing the bill. I mean, this is about making sure that the label is only put onto materials that can actually be recycled. So yeah, you did a good job.
Okay, thank you. So are there any questions or comments regarding this bill for us to discuss? Okay, I don't see anyone raising their hand. So at this point, then I'll call for a motion. Do I hear a motion for SB 343, the Truth in Labeling for Recycled Materials bill, to be recommended to the city staff for review and possible letter of support to the state? Would anyone like to make that motion? Okay, seeing no one else has done that, I will go ahead and pose that motion. Do I hear a second to the motion?
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hogg. So can we have a roll call vote on this bill?
Sorry, needed to unmute. I'll go ahead and do the roll call vote now. Commissioner Badesha,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kong,
Aye.
Commissioner Salian,
Aye.
Chair Sexton,
Aye.
and Commissioner Hogg.
Aye.
Great, thank you very much. Now, to be respectful of the fact that we do have a hard stop at 6:30 today, that only gives us about 8 minutes left of this meeting. So I'm in favor, actually, because the AB, sorry, to go back to the other, SB1 will probably take more of a discussion than we can fit in 8 minutes. So if there's no objections, I'd like to, and by the way, I have to say that there are many, many, many more bills that I think would be very good for this commission to discuss, We just had to squeeze in whatever we could in time to meet the deadline that Sacramento is working towards. So I hope that in the future, we can have some really good in-depth discussions of other bills that we can consider, and that will generate more understanding for the commission to be able to move forward. And I have to say that, this is the first time this commission has ever attempted this kind of discussion. And also, I believe, Elaine, correct me if I'm wrong, the first time that any commission in the city of Milpitas has attempted this kind of discussion.
Yes, it has. This is definitely charting new territory for this commission and others to consider. And I think you guys did a great job today.
Thanks very much. And I know that Councilmember Chua, when she heard about the commission's willingness to discuss bills like this, she thought that it would be a good idea if other commissions would take on the same enthusiasm to, sort of tackle what is sometimes considered very dry, esoterical, difficult to understand topics. And so hopefully some of the other commissions might be interested in some of the bills that fall into their areas. Okay. Great. Well, thanks very much, everyone. Let me go back to the agenda, which I believe is just to see if there are any city liaison reports. Anything from the staff to share?
No, I don't think we have any. Oh, Deputy City Manager Rossman does have his hand up.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Chair and the Commission. I just would like to thank you for your work. This has been really amazing. I was unfortunately a few minutes late because I had other commitments, but we will do our best to get these letters out. And again, thank you for your interest in supporting the environment and making sure we can support the legislature and making the right decisions.
Thanks very much, Walter. It's great. Appreciate the feedback. Okay, so seeing that we have completed our all agenda items for today, I call for adjournment, and thanks very much. Hope everyone have a very good evening. And for those moving on to the next meeting, I hope you have a very good meeting. Good night now.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
night.